What's the channel?
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thanks.
Or happy Thanks-taking.
Come to give you.
We come to take.
Some people come to take.
That's what
I was pleasantly surprised yesterday when I went to Walmart and I didn't get run over by cattle or it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
We're all in Claiborne Hills, where we thought we would avoid Walmart.
Oh, really?
you guys are sending them over to Claiborne Hills.
Claiborne Hills is packed.
Wow.
Well, tomorrow's Black Friday.
So.
Tomorrow's Black Friday.
Yeah, that's
going to be crazy.
But even today, I was asking the Walmart employees because I was trying to decide when to buy this stuff and not do things today. And they said, no, Thursday morning is last minute Thanksgiving shoppers for their meals. And then in the afternoon, they start coming in after their meal to get a head start on the Black Friday.
Oh.
I've never participated in that, ever.
My wife does all the shopping online, so.
That's Cyber Monday.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, they got names for their...
They should be in it Black and Blue Friday.
Black and Blue Friday, Black and Blue Friday, Rage, Monday,
Cyber Monday.
Monday, Mental Monday.
Maya Monday.
Maya Monday, that's it. Yeah.
How's that song? Maya Monday.
Yeah,
Right. Prince, I think, wrote that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Om Namo
Jaya Radha Madhava Jari Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Jari Jaya Radha Madhava Jari Hari Jaya Jamuna Tira Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Raj, the holder of the great hill named Govardhan, the beloved son and mother of Yasoda, and the delighter of the inhabitants of Raj. He wanders in the forests along the banks of the river Jamuna.
Mayam Namaskritya
Naram Shava Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam
Devin Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jaya Rudiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan.
One should first offer the respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan.
Unto Narayan Rishi.
Unto Narayan Rishi.
The supermost human being.
The supermost human being.
Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning.
Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning.
And unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author.
And unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author.
Shrimvatam Svakata Krishna
Shrimvatam Krishna
Punya Shravana Kirtana
Punya Shravana Kirtana
Vidyantasto Yabadrani
Vidyantasto Badrani
Vidunati Saritsatam
Vidunati Saritsatam.
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead.
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead,
who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart,
who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart,
and the benefactor of the truthful devotee,
and the benefactor of the truthful devotee,
cleanses desire for material enjoyment,
cleanses desire for material enjoyment
from the heart of the devotee,
from the heart of the devotee,
who has developed the urge to hear his messages,
who has developed the urge to hear his messages,
which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Nastapreshu Bhadreshu
Nastareshu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavatu Tamashloke
Bhagavatu Tamashloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
By regular attendance and classes on the Bhagavatam, and by the rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart, is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So glad to meet you, Art. Have you heard that one before? That last one? Isn't it pretty beautiful? By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, like this class today, or we from Bhagavatam, and by the rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise of transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. I know in Christian church when I was a little child, that's what I was attracted to. Be like 6 years old, the singing of transcendental songs to the Lord. So whatever religion, there's usually transcendental songs to the Lord, So my Guru Dev says it's not so important which college you go to, but did you graduate, did you get your degree, That's the important thing. So whichever religion you belong to, did you develop your love of God? That's, did you get your degree, you know what I mean?
I'm working on it.
So that's no, I'm not talking about you. We're all working on it,
I'm in my 16th semester, so.
Oh, wow.
He's been, associated with boys for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
I figured it was
still
something
haven't
like that.
graduated yet.
Yeah, I just love that
I
last
keep
verse.
changing my major.
Yeah, you sound like my son. He changed it like 3 times in 4 years or so.
Yeah.
Take a semester off to find myself.
Maybe you don't remember you met him.
Again.
You met him once with he had his daughters here, and he was showing them around the temple room, and you stuck your head out, and I said,
I've met
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
reminding him that and this is the real Santa Claus. And Santa Claus takes, in the off season, he comes and worships Krishna. And the 2 girls, they were like, they looked at Art, their father, and they were like, is that true, Daddy? He looked like the real deal.
So as a spiritual father of your family, you're teaching them the art of life.
Yeah.
The real art of life, right? The art of yoga. The art of yoga. What Christian calls it. I think, doesn't he call it
The art of all work or something.
Art of all work, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 6, Text 6. Please repeat. Bahavo Loka Palanam Bahavo Loka Palanam Prayasha Shema Karmanam Prayasha Shema Karmanam Bahavo Loka Palanam Prayashu Shema Karmanam Bahavo Loka Palanam Prayasha Shema Karmanam
Bahavo Loka Palanam Prayasha Shema Karmanam
Bahavo Loka Palanam Prayasha Shema Karmanam Bahavo Loka Palanam Prayasha Shema Karmanam Bahavo Loka Palanam
Prayasha Shema Karmanam.
Prayasha Shema Karmanam Bahavo Loka Palanam Prayasha Shema Karmanam Bahavo Loka Palanam
Prayasha Shema Karmanam.
Prayasha Shema Karmanam.
Boy, that's so easy not to do.
It's only 2 lines.
Something to give thanks for. Anybody else? You don't have any little kids? No little kids. One of these days, maybe we'll have another Guru Kula here. Do we see that happening or 10 years? Hope so. Maybe.
It'll be gone then.
Please repeat. Bhavaha.
Bhava.
Arms. Loka Palanam.
Loka Palanam.
Of the governing deities of the planets.
Of the governing deities of the planets.
The demigods.
The demigods.
Prayashaha.
Prayashaha.
Almost always.
Almost always.
Shema Karmanam.
Shema Karmanam.
Of those who are leaders.
Those who are leaders.
And protectors of the general mass.
And protectors of the general mass.
Like Yogendra.
The real Yogendra.
Please repeat. Translation. The Lord's arms are the productive fields.
The Lord's arms are the productive fields.
For the great demigods.
For the great demigods.
And the other leaders of the living entities.
And the other leaders of the living entities.
Who protect the general mass.
Who protect the general mass.
I'll repeat the translation. The Lord's arms are the productive fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. Purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This important verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is corroborated and nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita 10:41 and 42 as follows. Yadya vibhutimat sattvam Srimad orjitam evava tad eva vagachatvam mama tejo sambhavam atava bahu naitena kinjatena tavarjana Vistavyaham idam krishnam ekaksena stito jagat. There are many powerful kings, leaders, learned scholars, scientists, artists, engineers, inventors, excavators, archaeologists, industrialists, politicians, economists, business magnates, and many more powerful deities or demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varuna, and Meru, who are all protecting the interest of the universal affairs of maintenance in different positions. And all of them are different powerful parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna, is the father of all living entities who are placed in different high and low positions according to their desires or aspirations. Some of them, as particularly mentioned above, are specifically endowed with powers by the will of the Lord. A sane person must know for certain that a living being, however powerful he may be, is neither absolute nor independent. All living beings must accept the origin of their specific power as mentioned in this verse. And if they act accordingly, then simply by discharging their respective occupational duties, they can achieve the highest perfection of life, namely eternal life, complete knowledge, and inexhaustible blessings. I like that last one, especially inexhaustible blessings. As long as the powerful men of the world do not accept the origin of their respective powers, namely the personality of Godhead, the actions of Maya illusion will continue to act. The actions of Maya are such that a powerful person misled by the illusory material energy wrongly accepts himself as all in all and does not develop God consciousness. As such, the false sense of egoism, namely myself and mine, has become overly prominent in the world, and there is a hard struggle for existence in human society. The intelligent class of men, therefore, must admit the Lord as the ultimate source of all energies, and thus pay tribute to the Lord for his good blessings. Similarly, by accepting the Lord as the supreme proprietor of everything, Since he is actually so, one can achieve the highest perfection of life. Whatever a person may be in the estimation of the social order of things, if a person tries to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is satisfied with the blessings of the Lord, he will at once feel the highest peace of mind for which he is hankering life after life. Isn't that what Shanti means? Peace. Is that right?
Yes.
It is. Look, all over in Bhagavad Gita, I couldn't find Shanti. But I was certain it meant peace. Peace of mind, or in other words, the healthy state of mind, can be achieved only when the mind is situated in a transcendental loving service of the Lord. The parts and parcels of the Lord are endowed with specific powers for rendering service unto the Lord, just as a big business magnate's sons are empowered with specific powers of administration. The obedient son of the Father never goes against the will of the Father, and therefore passes life very peacefully in concurrence with the head of the family, the Father. Similarly, the Lord being the Father, all living beings should fully and satisfactorily discharge the duty and will of the Father as faithful sons. This very mentality will at once bring peace and prosperity to the human society. Translation again. The Lord's arms are the productive fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. So Prabhupada first quoted those two verses, 10:41 and 42. And the English translation is, know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. And the purport Prabhupada says, any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be the spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence. In text 42, the second verse he quoted, but what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord is represented throughout the entire material universes by his entering into all things as the Supersoul. The Lord here tells Arjuna that there is no point in understanding how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. He should know that all things are existing due to Krishna's entering them as Supersoul. From Brahma, the most gigantic entity, on down to the smallest ant, all are existing because the Lord has entered each and all and is sustaining them. I'm going to continue this, but it's just on my mind right now. I saw something incredible because I'm outside a lot down there at Tejas, you know. I saw something really incredible, and I told Tejas about it. But you know how bumblebees are so amazing, right? You've all had experiences with these big black bumblebees. But one time I went down there, and I was going to knock on the door, and I saw this bumblebee. But this was a couple weeks ago. He was right at the footstep, you know, where you would step threshold. And I thought, poor thing, he looks like he's dying. Must be the cold weather, you know, because he was laying on his side and had his head, just his head, up against the threshold. Not his body, just his head. And his other, it was the strangest thing, because he bent this arm like this, like, no, don't step on me. Seriously, he bent it really weird, like this. And he kept doing like that. And I thought, well, he's dying, I guess, you know. I kept watching him because I was taking my boots off at that point, you know. I thought, poor thing. And I noticed his head was still against for some time. But before I went in, he just flew off. He flew off, perfectly healthy. I said, what was that bumblebee doing? Putting his head at the threshold that takes his door. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I just see something pretty incredible. Yeah, we have to always expect, Prabhu said, we have to always expect Krishna's mercy. And most of the time, we don't even know what we're looking at anyway, you know. But to say, I got a puny brain, but that was pretty incredible. And it went on for quite some time. And then he just flew off. That was the strangest thing. Anyway, bumblebees are pretty amazing. But anyway, so...
Can I just say one thing?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, in Vrindavan, this devotee Vaishnavananda, who was a land practitioner, he's also trained in Hatha Yoga. He was actually a certified guru of Hatha Yoga from one of the big Hatha Yoga schools. Prabhu said they were bona fide rascals or something. No, but he meant that like they were actually following a real tradition, but it was not for the sage. And the animals in Vrindavan do amazing things. And this one morning, there was a dog, and he was standing on one leg. And then Vaishnavananda's going, he's in the yoga asana. This is a yoga asana position. And then shortly after that, we came by and showed his body, his corpse. It was right before he was to leave. He went into a yoga asana position, and he left his body.
Who was that?
A dog. In Vrindavan.
A dog.
Vrishbasa.
Wow.
Wow, I just don't know what to say, but
yeah,
so in other words, you believe me when I was talking about the
yeah, no, I've seen a lot of things like that.
And several times he lifted his arm up like this, don't step on me. And then he put his arm down. And then he put it back up again. He bent it back like this, like, no, don't step on me. I'm just offering my obeisances to take this.
I committed offenses.
But yeah, his head against the threshold, that piece of metal strip.
This is the holy Dham. And the living entities here are special. We have to see it like that.
That must explain why so many devotees can walk at night in their sandals, and even in summer, and they don't get bit by the snakes, copperheads and stuff. You know, without flashlights even. They walk without flashlights, so no. And it just amazes me. Truly amazes me. They're not looking to bite us, you know. But if we step on them, they're going to bite us. That's the thing. That's the sad thing. But one more paragraph to go. Thank you for the amazing pastime, Prabhuji.
Well, you just reminded me. Yeah. You reminded me of it by telling that story about the bumblebee.
Yeah, I just thought about the bumblebee. I thought, well, why tell anybody? Nobody's going to believe that. But it really happened. So, and I was just thinking about it.
Well, we believe that form over there, Lord Jagannath, is God. That's pretty amazing. You know, Prabhupada told the devotees, the first devotees, bow down. This is the Lord of the universe. And they did.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think Shamsundar was saying, you know.
Actually, that was Brahmananda. When they first
bow down.
Bow down. Lord Jagannath. Yeah. They were thinking it was some Indian totem pole or something.
Yeah. Wow. Worship of demigods is discouraged herein because even the greatest demigods like Brahma and Shiva only represent part of the opulence of the Supreme Lord. He is the origin of everyone born, and no one is greater than him. He is Samata, which means that no one is superior to him, and that no one is equal to him. In the Vishnu mantra, it is said that one who considers the Supreme Lord Krishna in the same category with demigods, be they even Brahma or Shiva, becomes at once an atheist. If, however, one thoroughly studies the different descriptions of the opulences and expansions of Krishna's energy, then one can understand without any doubt the position of Lord Sri Krishna and can fix his mind in the worship of Krishna without deviation. The Lord is all-pervading by the expansion of his partial representation, the Supersoul, who enters into everything that is. Pure devotees, therefore, concentrate their minds in Krishna consciousness and full devotional service. Therefore, they are always situated in the transcendental transcendental position. Devotional service and worship of Krishna are very clearly indicated in this chapter in verses 8 to 11. That's correct. That's strange. I was just fixing to read text 8. Here Prabhupada says, devotional service and worship of Krishna are very clearly indicated in this chapter, verses 8 to 11. Yeah, those are the nutshell verses. Yeah, Prabhupada talks about the essence of Bhagavad Gita. That is the way of pure devotional service. How one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. How one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter.
Is that Aham Sarvasya Prabhu? What chapter is it?
Chapter 10.
Yeah, Tesham Satatam Yuktanam Bhatatam.
And that's what Prabhupada was talking about too in that purport, text 8. Ham Sarvasya Prabhu Mataha Savam Pravartate Iti Matva Bhagavate Mam Buddha Bhava Samambitaha. I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. And I might just go ahead and read all the nutshell verses. That was the first one. The text 9, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Text 10, to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And text 11, out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. But what I like to do is go back and also look at the verse before the nutshell verses, because it's also very interesting. That would be text 7. He who knows in truth this glory and power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. He who knows in truth this glory and power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. So, did anybody have any questions or anything so far about what we talked about so far? Of course, we do know that the demigods are powerful and in charge, I might say, large and in charge. The demigods. We don't really see them ourselves, not really qualified. But probably sometimes they come for arti, different places, in our temples. This is from chapter 18, text 41. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are distinguished by their qualities of work, or chastiser of the enemy, in accordance with the modes of nature. And so first Krishna talks about the Brahmanas. Text 42, peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the qualities by which the Brahmanas work. So Brahmanas are leaders of society, because Prabhupada talks about leaders of society in the Bhagavatam, in verse 6. And as long as the Brahmanas are true to the vows and live like they're supposed to and everything, then the common people can have faith in the Brahmanas, in their guidance. And we see so many really nice priests out there in other religions even. If they have the yoga knowledge, the yoga, how to control the senses, they would have more tools at their disposal to be able to follow what they're already trying to follow. You know, how to control the pushings of the tongue, the belly, the genitals, how to rise very early in the morning. And many monks do that, actually. Did y'all do that when you were?
They used to get up at 4.
4, yeah, exactly. It just seems to be a common thread that runs off, you know.
The first prayer of the day is actually called matins, which actually means morning prayer. It takes place about 4:30.
All right.
Same thing.
It's what's so nice about the Vedas is it gives us more tools for anybody and any faith actually to help us control this machine which we happen to be in. So that is wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful.
But a lot that they only speak about the Lord. There's the control of the speech. I mean, and actually, regardless of any tradition, it's interesting. I was thinking about this, that I think it's Canada passed a law that a preacher in any denomination cannot speak derogatory of someone, based on their sexual orientation. They call it hate speech. So in a sense, it's like no fault finding or no prajapa. Although the fact is, though, that as a preacher, sometimes you may have to actually say this is a sinful act and it's not recommended, but they don't want that to be said. But in a sense, it's kind of like a discipline that yogis practice, Vaishnavas are supposed to practice, and like I think in some of the traditions in the monasteries, like Art was telling me that for several years you didn't actually even see them, except for occasionally, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, when I was in seminary, you couldn't talk at night, and you could only talk during certain parts of the day, and you could only talk in certain places. Like you couldn't talk in your cell, you couldn't talk, and if you had to talk to somebody, you had to go by and whisper. So
you couldn't talk to yourself even? Is that what you said?
No, you couldn't talk in your cell.
That's your room, like your room?
Cell?
Yeah.
0.
And after Compline, after the evening prayer, you couldn't talk unless like the seminary was on fire or something. Like it was called the Great Silence and the Little Silence.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that because remember that devotee used to live here and he was over in Russia, not Roman Catholic, it's something else.
Orthodox. Yeah.
Russian Orthodox priest. Well, he showed me online a bunch of the monasteries, and some of them are really incredible. Like over in Europe, you're walking along these wooden planks that have been there for ages, and they're really strong wood, turned to stone basically, and you can look down through the cracks, wide gaps, and see 100 or more feet down, the surf on the rocks crashing. I mean, it's just amazing things. And austere, there's wonderful souls out there that are... Bhakti Yoga might make some of their things they're doing it easier because we do believe in pleasure, serving the Lord. And Prabhu says, well, we do have sense gratification, but we do it authorized sense gratification. I mean, my Gurudev said, chanting or singing, dancing, feasting, and hearing the actual truth from self-realized souls, who would not be attracted to this movement, I mean, who doesn't want to hear the truth? I mean, the real truth and nothing but the truth, like the Vedas. And I was talking, Yogendra was there yesterday at the post office, and there was a preacher in the line, and we started talking. And I said, so you're a transcendentalist, And so we were talking about, similarities and things like that. And I asked him where his church was at, too, at the end. They never told me, but we had no conflict, But just an hour earlier, there was a lady who had 3 kids in the parking lot at the bank getting donations. And I happened to give them a card, said, yeah, we need a playground there and stuff like that, getting donations and stuff like that. And she came wheeling around. I thought she was going to have a wreck. And screaming, Jesus Christ is there, whatever, And so much hatred. Oh, my God. Wow. So anyway, that was sad. But then I told the preacher, I said, well, you're reaffirming my faith, you know, that, because I just had a bad experience, you know, with, and she shot at me and all that kind of stuff. And even though I gave a donation, you know, it was nice to the kids and all that stuff. But rarely do we come across it nowadays, for me at least, you know, rarely. Because we're on the same page. We want to help each other and how to love God. And that's what Jesus Christ was advocating, serving our Father, you know.
Did you say a little God?
A little God?
Is that what you said? What is it?
Loving God.
A loving God?
Loving God.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
I should speak
No,
like
no,
that.
no, yeah.
I guess I'm fading away.
No, I just thought, I heard, and I was thinking, well, we do have a little God. He's 9 inches tall. He's in our heart.
Yeah. Well, you know, Super Soul, I was going to mention that today because I recently just, you know how it is, you have epiphanies? And I realized Prabhu said, even Super Soul is dependent upon Krishna.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's pretty intense, you know, if you think about it, you know. But, yeah, we have realizations and epiphanies all the time. I think there's, and the qualities of the Kshatriyas, because they're also leaders of human society, as Prabhupada was mentioning. Their qualities are heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. And, you know, not so much in this age. I mean, the police are still trying to be, you know, many of them are so nice at their job. They're like the modern day Kshatriyas, and the motto of Kshatriyas is like to serve and protect, basically speaking. That's the same as the police, you know. And so, for those brahmanas or priests, and also the soldiers or policemen who maintain the respect of the public, you know, just like he mentions there, heroism. Everybody respects a hero. They have power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership, the qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. I heard that even Kshatriyas, this is in a previous age, it's not in this age. This is a very debated age, but I heard that if a lady came to a Kshatriya and took shelter and wanted to be married, you know, this is what I heard, that he could not say no. Is that what you heard too?
Mm.
He had to give her shelter.
Yeah.
But there was a different age, a different time, you know, where everyone was more advanced.
She had to be properly doing it because
Yeah.
it was one of the questions Yudhishthira asked Arjuna when he came back home depressed. Said, did you contact a woman of bad character or something like that?
You're right. I did say that, yeah. So we're talking about an advanced age, so much more advanced. But every time we come down in age, we lose 25% of qualities. Now we're in the Kali Yuga and dropping. But in this age, the good news is that Lord Chaitanya came to say the most fallen first. And there's plenty of opportunity for us devotees to go out and save the Jagais and Madais of the world, you know. It's such a nice thing to be here. And to have, we know Srila Prabhupada is captain of our ship. And, you know, and we know that under Prabhupada's guidance, that he is not going to let anybody, like, there was one, back in the wood sailing ship days, there was one captain, and they used to be really strong and able-bodied and real experienced, stuff like that, sailing around Cape Horn. And he jumped off his wooden ship at least twice. I don't know if he did it 2 times, but at least twice in the same passage. He was tied at the waist with the rope, which was tied to a mast, and he obviously knew what to look for. He was obviously ready to jump because, you know, he's very experienced. And he saved a couple men's lives who actually got washed overboard. But he was tied to the mast, so when he jumped over, they were able to get back on the ship, you know what I mean? They probably pulled him in anyway, you know. And that's incredible. So we know Prabhupada, you know, just like that devotee was trying to leave in the early days, up in New York, I believe, very early days. And Prabhupada was handing him, the devotee thought it was a dhoti. And it says, I'm not quite ready now. I'm and Prabhu said he was in the doorway and he had tears in his eyes because the boy was trying to leave. He said, "Please come back," with tears in his eyes. And the devotee said, "I had almost instant karma because when I left the building, went around the corner, then I was almost killed by some thugs."
His name is Prabhupada Das.
Prabhupada Das. Practically instant karma. And Prabhupada, he's giving everything he can. It's giving translating. I don't know how Prabhupada did what he did, but he's just a pure devotee. Nobody can estimate the power of pure devotee because he's fully surrendered at Krishna's lotus feet. So there are heroes in this world, but the real heroes are the ones that you can respect, you can really look up to, and you can trust, which is really hard to come by in this age. But if Krishna is the center of our activities, we know that all of our activities will be blessed with success. So I'm reading from, this is my request, because what I like to do is distribute books. That's what I always love to do, so I love to talk about it. The Prabhu says, let's see, this is a letter to Bali Mardhan in 1972. "The real preaching is selling books. You should know the tactic how to sell without irritating. What your lecture will do for 3 minutes, what it will do. But if he reads 1 page, his life may be turned. We don't want to irritate anyone, however. If he goes away by your aggressive tactics, then you are nonsense, and it is your failure. Neither you could sell a book, neither he would remain. But if he buys a book, that is the real successful preaching."
Is that the by hook or by crook letter?
Oh, I don't know actually, because that's all it says right here. This is a letter to Bali Mardhan. I just send it to by hook or by crook. I remember Dusadan Maharaj. I remember in the early days, he said something about promise them anything, but give them the jug. The jug gift, Like if they want to be an actor, so, well, we can try to work that in. But I don't know where that saying came from. I think it might have been Dusadan's
What?
his own personal saying, maybe.
What?
Promise them anything, but give them the jug.
Heard that one.
Sounds like I wrote it down with our quote.
Is that like, you can have anyone as long as it's black or something?
No, like and that the context is just Durmya was in the Radha Damodar party, and they would travel around to colleges and places like that in those big buses. They were like mobile temples going into deities, and so when they were really on distributing a lot of books, but also they were trying to recruit men to go and help. So they would, in order to get them to join their party, they would promise them anything. Yeah, you want to play music? Yeah, you can do that. But ultimately though, or you like to work on cars? Yeah, you can do that. You like to cook? Yeah, you can do that. So you can do that, but you also got to do the book distribution. That was the main thing.
Maybe in the beginning they don't know the importance of the book distribution, but eventually you find out, it's like, oh wow, this is what really pleases, really does please Srila Prabhupada, without a doubt, which there's so many things that please Srila Prabhupada, but anyway, when I joined, I was on the bus, and I thought, well, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to help support this bus, help support the book distribution. I just want to do my part, and it's what they were doing, so, So they trained me about it, Prabhupada said in a letter to Jagadish in 1973, as soon as I see such increased book distribution figures, I take that to mean that all other programs are successful. Prabhupada said in a letter to Ramaswar, 1973, in order to change this materialistic society and prevent them from gliding to hell. First thing is to educate them. All decent men want to give service to humanity. Only thing is, they do not have information really what is that service. Hospitals, feeding the poor, Red Cross, these are service to the bodies only, not to the man. Service to humanity means jnana. By giving people knowledge, by giving people knowledge, again, that is the highest service to humanity. So we are performing the actual welfare work of society by informing everyone through our literatures who is God, who they are, and what is the relationship. In this way, everyone who hears our message gets the opportunity to fulfill his actual position as human entity and become delivered from the clutches of Maya, or the clutches of illusion. Lose your energy. Any comments? Anybody wants to make?
This verse has so much in it that I like this little passage that says, whatever a person may be in the estimation of the social order of things, if a person tries to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is satisfied with the blessings of the Lord, he will at once feel the highest peace of mind for which he is hankering. He is hankering life after life. Peace of mind, or in other words, the healthy state of mind, can be achieved only when the mind is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It's really nice.
Prabhu says the real peace formula is Bhaktalam Jagat Sapasham Sara Lokameshvaram Sardam Sarvatanam Yankalam Shantamishti. The sages knowing me as the ultimate purpose for all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods and well-wish of all entities, attain peace from the pangs and material miseries. So that's the real peace formula. That's the real peace formula. I really do wish that they would allow, let's do one experiment. I mean, let us run one prison. It doesn't have to be a big one, you know. And everybody would be so relaxed and peaceful and prashadam, you know what I mean? Like if they don't want to be part of that, you know, they could go somewhere else. They could be somewhere else and they'd be incarcerated.
I saw something, wasn't it something on YouTube that there was a prison in another country where they were doing yoga and
other countries are more advanced.
Scriptural reading.
Yeah, you're right. Some.
And they
always haven't done a prison ministry. I mean, those are the people who actually do read books. To be honest.
Yeah.
They have a prison.
Read books.
They have a prison ministry that sends books to prisoners.
Yeah, we do that.
They have time.
They have all the time in the world.
I just don't have time to get around to reading. I'm sorry.
I got time.
I just don't have time. That was all you got.
Actually, there's one person who's in some kind of a prison in California, and he writes to us on a regular basis.
Wasn't Astika involved in Atlanta in prison ministry?
Yeah.
I mean, Chandrasekhar Prabhu says that when he was staying in the New Orleans temple, I don't know if it was in the 70s or the 80s, and that he came up with the idea, and that he started the prison ministries in New Orleans. You know, he's a Gorkonis friend. He comes here sometimes. Do you remember that, Yogendra? No?
What's that, Prabhuji?
Chandrasekhar, when he was in New Orleans, he says that he got the idea for doing preaching to people in prisons when he was staying in New Orleans. This was back in the 70s, the 80s or something.
So they do correspondence,
early 80s
prison work. Because I asked him, I said, you ever go to, because I used to go to prison ministry and at that New Orleans Parish prison, and it's an interesting place. They check you out before you go in. And I played in a
They write letters back and forth.
Yeah, he says it's correspondence. He said he never went in.
Some people actually have programs, little preaching centers.
Where are you
Nice.
I don't know the title of the book, but it's a book about the Radha Damodar party, and a lot about Vishnu Jan and so on. I read it some years ago. And they had a beautiful story about they stopped at a prison or something. I think they just stayed outside and chanted.
Mhm.
I don't know why, it's something like that, but anyway, all the prisoners were chanting too.
Wow.
It was a beautiful thing.
Were they chanting through the fence?
Wow.
Yeah, there were little bars or something. Somehow it was going on like that, and everybody decided.
That's how we used to do it in the old days. We just show up.
Because you could hear the chanting when they played kirtan. You know, this party that was last night?
Yeah.
They did Bollywood, but they mixed it in with kirtan singing.
I was wondering about that.
And you could
hear
hear
from a distance, you know.
Yeah, you could hear the
They
kirtan.
mixed it in, huh? That's interesting.
Pull up to a prison
There's
and
one devotee, I won't mention his name, that was in prison for a while, and you know, he was just new there, and they had to wait in line to use the phone. And there's like these gangs within it, and people like this, people that, like say, the white supremacists or this or that. So this one real big, huge mountain of a man was there, and they're all waiting in line, and he says, I heard there's a Hare Krishna here. I want to know which one of you is the Hare Krishna. And he's, it's like, he figured, he's going to find out eventually. I might as well be honest. So just, said, that'll be me over here. He goes, come on, give me. I know TKG. Go, Swami. This guy turns to everybody. This guy is with me. You understand?
oh,
Yeah, he's got a protector.
Yeah, he's got a protector.
Speaking of a hero.
Yeah.
Wow. Kshatriya. Well, not exactly Kshatriya.
Who was he? No, which was Swami?
TKG.
TKG
Tomorrow
goes,
Krishna.
goes, and then there was when I was the president of Atlanta, there was a devotee that had been ex-devotee or whatever. He was in prison, and Charles Manson. Now Chandrasekhar has letters from Charles Manson.
I wasn't going to mention it, but he told me that he was the one he actually contacted first.
Anyway, so he has some really infamous, or famous, but infamous is the better word.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he hated the devotees.
Mm-hmm.
He hated us, and so this devotee was in there, and he knew that Manson hated him because he was a devotee. So before Manson could make a move on him, this actually happened. He threw kerosene or gasoline on Manson. He threw a match and set him on fire.
Are you serious?
And he was hospitalized. And he didn't die, and so that way this guy was cool. So then I get a phone call from this guy saying, so I just wanted to, I thought you guys were kind of flakes, and I didn't really ever care for you. But when I heard one of you guys, first of all, he asked me if it was true, and I said, yeah, he's a Hare Krishna. Yeah, he goes, yeah, and he goes, well, all I know is you got my respect now, because that guy should have been killed for what he did. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we're taxpayers paying for him to live, in prison is outrage. And you guys, you got all my respect now. I got respect for you because one of you tried to kill him.
Who tried to kill him though?
I can't remember the person's name. I don't know if he was initiated or not. I think he was an initiated devotee. But he was in jail. And this happened back in the early 80s, or maybe the late 70s.
A long time ago, huh?
When I was the president of Atlanta, I can't remember if it was in the late 70s or the early 80s. And I get this phone call one day, and he goes, you're the Hare Krishna? Yeah, well, it's just like what I said, basically. He said, I never liked you guys. I thought you were a bunch of flakes and blah, 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 but anybody who wants to kill Charles Manson is all right with me. Any religion goes for that. I'm for you.
I had a couple of things to share, I guess. I guess from the verse, it seemed like it was talking about how all power is coming from Krishna, God, and like secular power. And there's actually a verse in the Bible that St. Paul says that the sword is given to the rulers to punish evildoers. He talks about that, and even in the history of Christendom in Christian countries, the king was deemed the minister of God to the point that he was ordained like an actual and yeah, I think even on YouTube you could still see the coronation of Queen Elizabeth, and they anoint their right arm because the bishop will anoint the right arm. So the king was actually an ordained minister of God, and there's a really pretty it was to the point there. This may have happened in Spain, but I know it happened in the Holy Roman Empire in Austria, where they would take when the king died, they would go to the church and they would stand outside the door with the coffin, and a humble Franciscan friar would answer the door and be like, "Who is it?" And he said, and he starts rattling off, "This is the emperor so and so, the king of such and such, and blah blah blah." And when they're done, he's like, and the friar would say, "I don't know this person," and lock and close the door again. And he'd do it 3 times until the 3rd time he knocked on the door and says, "Who is it?" And it's a sinner. Okay, he can come in.
Wow.
And then they start the burial.
So that's sort of like when, what's his name, Maharaj Prachaparuja wanted to have the darshan of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya didn't want anything to do, he's a sannyas, he didn't want anything to do with a king, because they're the most, worldly of men, in a sense. Although it also says that a king that misuses the taxes, that's a sacred trust. And because the king is supposed to see this like as if it's the money of God. And like in India still, the deities are the proprietors of the property. And so all the money, all the land is in the name of the deities. And if someone who's in that, the steward, then, or the king, or the representative of that property, and therefore, and that doesn't just mean the temple or the church, it means the whole village, or the state that you're running, or the country that you're running. It is the property of the Lord. Bhoktaram Yavikabasham. The supreme, anyone who's thinking has the false conception that I'm a proprietor, has a Napoleonic complex.
I don't know if y'all knew about that, but just a few years ago, there was a big temple, and that there was someone in the temple who released the information about the underground vaults to somebody, a reporter on the outside. Within 6 months, that person who released that information, he died natural death. And the reporter, within 6 months, died natural death.
Information about what?
There's 4, underneath the temple, there's 4, where they put all, over so many years, all these things have been donated.
Which temple was that?
And the 4th one hadn't been opened yet.
What?
But they said, I forgot the name of it. It's like a few years ago. And they said that what was in just the first 3 at least was enough to pay off the nation's national debt. And they hadn't even opened the 4th one, But I heard that the Pope, the Hope Diamond, right? I think they cut it in half or something. And anybody who's owned it has died a horrible death, and that's why Smithsonian owns it.
And it's from India, right?
That's what I heard.
It's in one of the eyes of Lord Ramachandra.
And all the jewels and the crowns of the English, they came from India.
Yeah, they were in temples. They were, decorating the deities or actual eyes and things of that nature. The hope that anyone who owns it's not good that it's in the Smithsonian, because that means our nation owns it.
That's right, we do.
That's right.
Well, they do.
And just, if I could
tell
one more thing. So I don't know if this will help you when you're preaching, because I know Christians can be a little close-minded, but that in Christianity, they do have a concept of devatas. They do have, they're the angels. And I'm reading a book, not sort of for a side project, but I'm reading a book by Jean Danielu, who was actually, if you read The Science of Self-Realization, which I think you had recommended to me, he's a priest, he's a bishop that Srila Prabhupada talks to about, he's a priest who he talks to, and they talk about vegetarianism and stuff like that. So I've read several books by this person, even way before.
Oh, you're talking about that. We have a video of that.
John Danielu. Yeah. And he wrote a book called The Lord of History, and he actually wrote a lot about the angels. And he says that in Christian theology, various nations are governed by angels. And that's why, because the angels help God to govern the cosmos. Like they're even deemed to be the ones who push the planets around. There's even an ancient Christian drawing of the angel rolling up the sky like a cloak. But they're all under God. They're not gods themselves. And Dham says that the origin of various religions is people mistaking the angels for the supreme, what we call Bhagavatam, the supreme personality of God.
So basically, in your humble opinion, angels are probably demigods?
Yeah, they're the same thing. For them.
Just like we say this is Mother Bhumi. You know, she's a demigoddess. And Vivishwan,
the man in the moon.
But the mistake is thinking that the mistaken thing is the idolatry in the Christian sense would be to mistake the angel and sometimes the demon as God. Yeah. But the angels help God to basically govern the universe and govern nations. Because even angels, even in Christian theology and Catholic theology, every nation has an angel. Every city has an angel. Every church has an angel. Yeah. So they're all around you, but their authority comes from God. You shouldn't worship them, you should worship God.
I cringe to think of anybody, any religion that went around the world and destroyed.
And that's in the Bible.
Anything that you worship, you consider God's present there. And I don't care, because He's present in everything anyway. But I feel I cringe when I think of any, religion that destroyed what people, so many souls worship as sacred, and to destroy it, to think the repercussions. You know what I mean? It just makes me cringe.
Well, that's what the Muslims did.
Yeah, they blew up Buddhist statues.
And they destroyed a lot of it. When you go to a museum, I don't care where it is in the country or the world, and you see relics from India, most of them, like say Ramchandra or Krishna, things like that, they have no feet, or they're headless, or something, or their hands have been cut off. It's because they've been desecrated, right? Thank you.
Well, all glories, to simple devotees, Shishi Gornitai, Shishi Radha, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and have a glorious Thanksgiving day today, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I was asking Fayette, because he knows all about history. I don't know if you've met Fayette yet, but you guys have some, because he knows all the world's religions. So you'd have something to talk about with him. Have you met Fayette yet?
No, I haven't.
Well, I was saying, what is it about Thanksgiving? Did it really start with the Indians and the Pilgrims? It didn't really start there. He mentioned that it was somewhere during Abraham Lincoln's time.
Yeah, I think the Civil War.
Yeah,
when it started.
Thanksgiving. Really? I didn't know that.
I think George Washington made some proclamation of giving thanks.
Yeah, I never knew anything about that. I thought it was the Pilgrims and the Indians.
Well, they had a dinner, but they didn't start Thanksgiving.
We thank the Lord for giving us the turkey, so that we may cut off its head. That's their Thanksgiving.
So I've heard devotees, 364 days of the year, we're practicing understanding that everything belongs to Krishna, and we're to give it back to Him.
First.
And all of a sudden on Thanksgiving Day, we're thanking Him for what He gave us to enjoy.
Well, I tell people every day for us is like Christmas and Thanksgiving rolled into one.
Yeah.